I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Wednesday, May the 10th, brought to you in part by Livestock Risk Services, Dakota Moss, office in there at the Exchange Building in Oklahoma City at the Oklahoma National Stockyards. They are your LRP specialists. Check out all of his agents there that you see listed, and just get in touch with them and ask them what it's all about if you're interested about that. Those that didn't, but they wish they'd have took their LRP out here 3 or 4 weeks ago. You know, that's a good way to enjoy your summer if you got cattle turned out. It's not too late to do it. You can do it midstream and not have to worry too much about the market or giving up any more of it than you have to. But check them out at Livestock Risk Services. Value-based marketing, and you guys haven't heard that too much here lately, but you know, that was the big talk forever about value-based marketing. That was what all your corporate feeders and a lot of your bigger feeders and your niche branded programs, they all said that was the only way to get full price out of your cattle was to sell in value-based marketings, which we found out that was just another way for packers to get captive supplies. And that's how come they've got 85% of them or so on your good steers and heifers now is through the carrot of value-based marketing. Problem is, whenever you don't haggle on your base price and you're hanging on the coattails of the minuscule cash market to establish your base price, you have no price discovery. And the reason you don't have any price discovery is because there's no competition to participate in value-based marketing. You have to promise all your cattle to one packer. That eliminates all your competition right there. But you know, we're seeing a little bit of that in a different way right now because we are so short of really top quality cattle right now, and your packers have gotten so spoiled ever since the pandemic of wanting those really high quality carcasses. And by high quality I mean a lot of fat, a lot of intramuscular fat, a lot of marbling, and they found out that you know, they can charge a whole lot more for that product and move it so much faster, and so they really want those cattle. Well, that works out real good until you're real tight supplies like we are right now, and you don't have a lot of cattle that are ready. Now they're expecting more cattle to be ready or to be on the show list here later this month, but they have been pulling cattle ahead so much, I don't know if we're going to see that or not. But right now, we don't have any cattle that are well finished. Really top quality cattle that will yield those high choice and prime carcasses that they're wanting so much there. But you know, and you're sure not seeing a lot of those in the southern plains, especially down in Texas, and maybe those cattle, which you know, a lot of those big corporate outfits especially, they don't really feed for those top quality carcasses because it's inefficient to do that. And when those cattle start kind of waning off of that efficiency, they want to move them, and at that point they're not at those high choice kind of quality grades of what they're looking for. But here this week, I told you packers were going to be aggressive on Tuesday. They were aggressive, mostly in our biggest slaughter cattle brick and mortar sale at Stockman's Livestock Market in Yankton, South Dakota. There was a big spread in there between those really high finished cattle, well finished cattle, and just your conventional cattle, which the conventional cattle in that part of the country are going to be a lot better than what they are in the southern plains, but they want those cattle that are going to be high choice and prime. Here lately, in the last several weeks, we haven't seen them really worrying that much about whether they was drug-free or non-implanted, even though we know there are premiums for that. But they sure did on Tuesday, and we saw your strings of cattle that were program cattle, drug-free or non-implanted, that were really well finished at Yankton, South Dakota, bring up to 187. And I'm not talking about one or two. I'm talking about strings of cattle here. As you can tell, and you may not be able to tell, but these cattle are really well finished at 187. And we thought those prices were gone, at least for a while, but you could still yield that early this week here. I doubt we can get anywhere, or I know we can't get anywhere close to that on a direct basis. We've seen a little bit of trade right in there about steady with where we was at last week in Iowa, but we haven't seen anything break loose. But the board was up big on Tuesday. And why did the board decided to go up so much? Well, your feeder cattle decided to go up so much because your grains were down big. Corn was down big. Feeder cattle took off. And it seems like we've got so many investors that are more than willing to jump in on the feeder cattle on the long side. Even though that is a very shallow pool, it doesn't take a whole lot of them to do that. But man, did your feeder cattle go up big. You know, your August feeder cattle were up over $3, sitting at $226.12 at the close. That doesn't correspond very well with what your fat cattle are looking like on the board. So you got August feeder cattle $226.12, and you look, and that's based on an 800-pound steer. That's $1,810 a head. Your February live cattle, which would correspond with those cattle, is only sitting at $174.27. Of course, that is $2,440. That only leaves you $630 to put on 600 pounds. That's pretty close to $1 a pound cost of gain there, guys, without any expenses on there. And here of late, we've been running from 130 to 150 to put a pound on. Yes, I agree that your corn is down. We get into the new crop corn, it's going to be a whole lot cheaper, but it hasn't got anywhere that cheap yet. But let's look at your board on Tuesday. June live cattle futures were up $1.50, and they were up a half a cent or a half a dollar on Monday, so up $2 this week so far. 163.92, still a foot lower than what your established market last week was on fat cattle in your 5-area feeding region. August live cattle up $1.47 at 161.55. Your back months on live cattle up $1.07 to $1.20, very consistently higher, guys. That's what surprised me so much on there. It wasn't jumping around. They got in on all the months and moved them at a very consistent rate there. May feeder cattle are up $2.50 at 205.92, and the all-important August was up $3.02 at 226.12, like I was talking a while ago. Back months were all up big on feeder cattle, up $2.65 to up $3.40 a pound. May corn was down 14.25 cents at 642.25. December new crop corn down 11.5 cents, now at only 518.25. May beans down 17 at 1451.75. November down 18 at 1254.5. Got some good rainstorms moving across the central part of the United States middle part of this week, and likely that had a lot to do with your grains being lower that much. But fat cattle trade, we didn't see a whole lot, weren't expecting a whole lot, but I figured that the Packers would be looking for cattle on Tuesday. They were. On a direct basis, the only thing they really got done was 800 head in Iowa. They got those bought at 177. That'd be pretty tight in there with where they were selling cattle in Iowa last week, but well above your 5-area weighted average with all those Southern Plains cattle in there. But no confirmed trade out of Nebraska, Kansas, or Texas. And of course, we don't get to see what happens in Colorado because there's not enough there to protect the innocent. But your big sale there, Stockman's livestock market, and that has become so important as price discovery in our fat cattle trade each week here, as we continue to go through this more limited negotiated sales all the time. We're looking for something to establish a price. What does that sale barns? We know how well it does it in feeder cattle, but it also does it in fat cattle, especially when you have 1,400 in overnight and 2,200 fat cattle there on offer at Yankton, South Dakota. Gary Marks does such a good job of giving me information to share with you guys here every week out of Stockman's Livestock in Yankton. told me that the conventional cattle there, the bulk of the conventional cattle, just the regular cattle, and every time I say conventional cattle, I want to know what the cab over cattle brought, but conventional cattle in the bulk sold from 175 to 180, 150. That'd be steady to $2 lower than last week, but still very respectable. He did tell me that there was 760 head, or about 35% of the offering, brought 180 or higher. That's significant there, and we appreciate him kind of keeping track of that and keeping us informed on that. Your program type cattle in Yankton, the drug-free or non-implanted cattle, bring from 178 to 187. That was also $1 to $2 lower, but a huge premium to what we're seeing on a direct basis, guys, out there. Yankton's got their big barbecue feeder cattle special here today on Wednesday, so if you guys are interested in that, be sure you check them out at Yankton, South Dakota, at Stockman's Livestock Market. Box beef cutout values were lower again. Choice cuts down $1.18 at $307.38. Selects down 23 cents at $284.89. Your slaughter running at a really good clip so far this week. The packers need the product. Everybody's saying, well, slaughter's been down, you know. That's not backing the cattle up. We are so tight on supplies, even though our slaughter's been down. The packers need the product, and the carcasses are a lot lighter, so they're not getting it. And they're trying to ramp it up a little bit to fill their needs. 254,000 through the first 2 days of this week. 4,000 more than last week, 11,000 more than the same week a year ago at this time. Talk about what else is going on. Limousine and Limb Flex. You know, if you want some calves that will grow, you might want to look at that on your genetic side. They are kind of focusing on feed efficiency, improved marbling, superior yield grade, which they've always had great yield grade, but superior yield grade, and calving ease. Let Limousine and Limb Flex take you full circle. Go to NALF.org for more information. Talk about our feeder cattle market, your real-time index on DV auction, late in the day on Tuesday, sitting at 201.25. That was up $1.02 from the end of the trading on Monday there, and that's always up to date and current. That includes Tuesday's sales, guys. But talk about some big sales on Tuesday around the circuit. How about Ozarks Regional Stockyard, West Plains, Missouri? 3,400 head through the ring. Another 450 head at their in-house video that they have almost every week. And if you guys are sitting down there in Arkansas, or you've got a string of cattle in southern Missouri or Mississippi or Louisiana, wherever you're at, if you'd like to tap into the market there at Ozarks Regional Stockyard, get a hold of them. If you've got load lots of cattle, they can sell them right there at the in-house video any week that you want to, guys. The calves were unevenly steady for the most part. The bigger feeding cattle sold $3 to $5 higher, and we saw your feeder market respond immediately to how much higher your feeder cattle futures were on Tuesday, and then they were a bunch higher everywhere we looked. $3 to $5 higher there in West Plains. Stick out deal in West Plains that I saw was 71 steers, weighed 720 pounds at $223.50. That's in extreme south central Missouri. Talk about your national beef wire stick out sale of the day. It was Kimball Livestock Exchange in Kimball, South Dakota. Over 3,600 head of feeder cattle there at Kimball. Look at your automated market report through Cattle Market Central and look at your best tested weights. Saw 428 head of 7-weight steers, average 738 pounds, with a weighted average price on all of them at $223.98. 1,106 head of 8-weight feeder steers in Kimball, South Dakota, at an average weight of 849 pounds and a weighted average price of $206.85. Look at some heifer groups. 387 head in your 6-weight heifers. The average 654, average price $215.09. 360 head of 7-weight heifers in Kimball, average 741, the weighted average price of $196.71. And 306 head of 8-weight heifers averaged $848 with an average price on all of them of $184.96. Give you several individual quotes from all around the country about Beaver County stockyards. I told you what kind of offering they were going to have on our last visit. They sold them on Tuesday, including 2 loads of 895-pound black steers, bring 190.75. Pretty good clip there for the way things are in the Oklahoma Panhandle right there. 2 big loads of cattle weighing almost 9. How about Turlock Livestock Auction Yard in Turlock, California? We know they've had ample moisture in California. 53 steers weighed 713 pounds at $227. Kingsville Livestock Auction, Kingsville, Missouri, sells 57 steers weighed 819 pounds at $203.85. Thought that was pretty respectable. How about Bluegrass Stockyards in Lexington, Kentucky? That's that big fancy new facility they got there. That's the flagship of all the bluegrass yards in Kentucky. They sold 60 head of steers weighed 906 at $193.50. But the best quote that I saw anywhere, most impressive, on Tuesday in your Mackerson No BS top quote for the day, indeed come out of Kimball Livestock Exchange in Kimball, South Dakota. It was 185 head of 818-pound steers that bring $218. And that's your feeder flash for Wednesday.